shattered like thin ice. Grace, the maid in a neat blue dress, stood in front of her with both hands shaking. Then, in one quick, desperate motion, the kind a cornered bird makes when a hawk dives, Grace kicked. Her shoe met Olivia's thigh. Olivia stumbled back into the tall flower stand. Roses rained down. Cameras flashed. She was pushed to the wall. Grace cried, voice breaking. The band stopped playing. Ethan, the billionaire, turned slow like a man waking from a dream. A red carpet had never felt so hot. People rushed. Someone shouted for a doctor. And just as Ethan reached his wife and the guards reached Grace, a tiny silver object slid across the floor from Olivia's clutch and stopped at the edge of the stage, winking under the lights like a secret waiting to be found. Earlier that morning, the city woke up smelling like warm bread and diesel and hope. Grace left the small staff quarters with a basin of flowers and a list written in careful letters. She walked past the fountain and the tall palm trees at the Cole mansion. The sun came through the leaves, painting her face in little coins of light. "Good morning, Auntie Rose," she called to the head cook. "Good morning, child." "Big night," Auntie Rose said, waving her spoon. "Charity gala. Many eyes. Keep your head. Keep your heart." Grace nodded. "I will." Grace's mother used to say, "Kindness walks slow, but it always arrives." Her mother had passed 2 years before, leaving Grace a little gold locket with a faded picture inside and a prayer on her lips. When the agency sent Grace to the Cole home, she promised herself she would be light, not fire. She would be calm water, not a storm. And for many months she kept that promise, even when the days were long and the nights were longer. Ethan Cole was a busy man with a soft voice and a schedule that could bend a clock. He ran companies that built schools and hospitals. He liked clean lines, quiet rooms, and simple answers. Olivia, his wife, loved loud colors, breaking news, and attention that stayed. She was beautiful and far along with their first child. "The world should be easy when you can pay the bill," she once said in a room full of mirrors, all of them nodding back at her. People clapped at her parties because she clapped first. She smiled for photos and frowned at problems. Lately, everything felt like a problem to her. Her shoes, her sleep, her husband's meetings, the way dust dared to settle anywhere it wasn't invited. Grace learned how to read the house like a book. She knew the hour when the sun hit the piano lid and made it hot. She knew which step on the west staircase creaked and which door handle needed oil. She knew Auntie Rose hummed a gospel song when the soup was perfect and a high-life tune when it still needed salt. She knew Olivia's moods by the pattern of her bracelets. Jingle meant restless, no sound meant tired, fast clatter meant anger rolling in like thunder. The gala was for a children's hospital wing. Ethan had given a big gift. Olivia had designed the room. "Neon palms," she told the decorator. "Gold napkins. And take away those gray curtains. My child will not be born into a world of gray." The decorator bowed and worked. Grace ironed napkins until they were sharp as paper. She polished plates until she could see her own eyes in them and told her reflection, "Don't worry. Tonight will pass like every night." Just after noon, a small trouble blew in and tried to grow. A courier brought a velvet ring box for Olivia, a gift from a brand that wanted photos. The ring was bright like a drop of sun. "Keep it safe," Olivia told Grace, pushing the box into her hands. "If anything happens, it will be your fault." Grace put the box on the bedroom vanity and stood nearby as Olivia left to take a call. Minutes later, the box was gone. Not moved. Not buried under scarves. Gone. Grace's heart became a drum. She searched. She checked under the vanity, behind the picture frame, inside the jewelry drawer, even in the pocket of the robe Olivia had tossed on the chair. Nothing. She ran to Auntie Rose. "Have you seen a small velvet box?" "No, child," Auntie Rose said, eyes calm. "Breathe. Look again. Calm eyes see better than scared eyes." Grace breathed. She looked again. Still nothing. Olivia returned and saw the empty space where the ring should be. Her face changed hard and fast. "Where is it?" she asked, voice quiet like a snake in dry grass. "Ma'am, I'm still looking." "You mean you lost it?" "No, ma'am. It was right here." Olivia's hands shook. "You think I can go to that gala without that ring? Do you know what it costs? Do you know who gave it? You had one job." Ethan stepped in from the hall, tie in hand. "What's wrong?" "She lost the ring," Olivia said. "The brand ring. The one for tonight." Ethan looked at Grace. His eyes were tired but not unkind. "We'll find it. Let's not turn the house upside down. We have time." Olivia moved closer to Grace, so close Grace could see her own fear reflected in Olivia's eyes. "I will not be embarrassed," Olivia whispered. "Not tonight. If this ring doesn't show up before we leave, you will be finished. She pressed a finger into Grace's shoulder and walked out. Grace searched again. Then she saw it. The window had been open. A breeze had lifted the edge of the sheer curtain. Could the small box have slipped and fallen? She checked the floor by the window. Nothing. She looked down through the glass to the garden. The gardener, Mr. Jonah, waved. Grace waved back and forced a smile. If you drop a small thing, look for the light it leaves, her mother used to say. Grace didn't know what that meant until she saw it. A tiny faint rectangle of dust on the vanity where the heavy box had been. The light around it fell a bit different, like a quiet shadow. Someone had lifted it, not wind. Someone with careful fingers. She wanted to tell Ethan. But Olivia's anger spun like a blade. Grace swallowed her words and held her tongue with both hands, the way Auntie Rose taught her. She cleaned the hallway. She helped steam Olivia's green gala dress. She placed soft shoes by the door. When Auntie Rose caught her alone, she touched Grace's arm. Child, I know what fear smells like. Don't let it lead you. Let truth lead you. Grace nodded. Yes, Auntie. Before they left for the gala, something gentle happened. A delivery truck pulled up outside the staff gate. A boy younger than Grace came down from the back, holding a box too big for his arms. He stumbled. The box split. Plush teddy bears rolled across the ground like fat brown raindrops. Grace ran to help. I'm sorry, the boy said, almost crying. It's my first day. They said don't drop the bears. Grace knelt, picking up bears and brushing off dust. We'll fix it together, she said in a soft voice. They loaded the bears back, taped the box, and carried it to the charity van. The boy wiped his face. Thank you. Grace smiled. We help each other. That's how we grow. At the gala hall, the world was bright and wide. Gold light. Soft music. A wall of green plants with tiny lights like stars. Famous faces smiled. Microphones waited. The sign at the entrance said, The Cole Foundation Gala. A wing for little hearts. Grace worked with the service team while the guests arrived in a river of perfume and silk. Ethan greeted donors. Olivia posed for photos in her green dress, her hand on her belly, her other hand bare. Her face kept its smile, but her eyes were sharp, scanning for the missing ring like a hunter looking for tracks. During the third song, Olivia's friend Mariah leaned over to whisper. Where's the ring? Ask the maid, Olivia said without moving her lips. She lost it. The word lost like the taste of Olivia's tongue. It sounded like liar. It sounded like thief. The whisper traveled. Whispers are like wind. They start small and end big. By the time dinner was served, 3 different people had asked 3 different waiters if the Cole maid had sticky fingers. Grace kept her head down and her eyes level. She served water. She carried plates. She did not trip. She smiled when spoken to, even when a lady with too many diamonds said, You're the one, right? And shook her head like she was sorry for the world. Then the lights went softer. The band stopped. The host said nice words into the mic about children and hope and hands that give. Ethan stood to speak. He thanked people. He promised beds and books. He gave the number for the pledge screen. People clapped. The screen showed happy colors. It should have been perfect. But storms can form under clear skies. Right after Ethan sat down, Olivia rose slowly. She touched her belly. She walked straight to Grace at the side station where the extra cutlery and napkins were lined like soldiers. Her voice was quiet but sharp. Come with me. Grace followed into a side corridor near the stage where the sound of clapping turned to a hush. Olivia held up her clutch. Open it, she said. Grace blinked. Ma'am? Open it. Grace opened it. Inside was lip gloss, a phone, a small mirror, and the velvet ring box. Olivia stared like she didn't believe her own eyes. Her face did a small, quick dance between relief and rage. You, she said to Grace, put this here to scare me, to control me, to make me look weak. No, ma'am, Grace said, heart pounding. I didn't touch your clutch. I haven't been near it. Then how did it get here? Did it grow legs? Are you calling me a liar? Olivia stepped closer. Grace stepped back. The corridor was narrow. On one side, the wall, on the other side, a heavy curtain that hid the back of the stage. Ma'am, please, Grace whispered. I would never hurt you. I would never touch your things. I serve you. You embarrass me, Olivia spat. You make me small on my night. Her bracelets clattered like hail. She reached for Grace's wrist. Grace tried to pull away, the curtain snagged her sleeve. Somewhere beyond the curtain, the host said, and now, a special surprise performance. And the crowd clapped again. Music swelled. The floor under Grace's shoes felt too smooth. Olivia lifted her hand like she might slap. "You think your soft eyes can save you?" she hissed. This was not a room with many doors. It was a box with two hearts beating too fast. Grace's mind ran to Auntie Rose's words, "Keep your head. Keep your heart." But sometimes your body moves before your mind finds a sentence. Olivia's fingers dug into Grace's arm again, higher this time, near bone. Pain came hot and bright, and Grace's fear thawed into something else. Something wild and old, like the moment a trapped animal claws free. She pulled, the curtain tore, her shoulder hit the wall, and Olivia lunged. Grace lifted her leg in a jerk to stop the lunge. Her shoe met Olivia's thigh. Olivia gasped and stumbled. The flower stand crashed. The music stopped like a mouth slammed shut. People turned. The world became a camera. The camera became a judge. Security ran. Ethan ran. The host lost his smile. She was pushed to the wall. Grace cried, but the words sounded small compared to the noise in people's eyes. Then came the tiny silver object. It rolled out from Olivia's clutch in the mess, past the broken glass, past a fallen rose, and flashed under the light before it stopped at the stage edge. Grace saw it. Olivia saw it. Ethan saw it too. It looked like a USB drive, the kind that holds photos or videos or truths someone doesn't want to carry in their head. For a long second, nobody moved. Then Olivia clutched her belly and whispered, "Oh God." The hall inhaled as one. Ethan reached for her, then glanced back at the silver thing like a man caught between a fire and a locked door. Auntie Rose pressed through the crowd, eyes steady, hands ready. "Give the woman air," she commanded. People stepped back, forming a jagged circle. A doctor in a black suit knelt by Olivia. "Breathe. Slow and deep." Security closed in around Grace. She lifted her hands. "I didn't mean to hurt her," she said, voice cracking. "I was scared. She grabbed me." The guard's face was a quiet wall. Just then, from the main hall, a child's voice rose above the adults like a bell floating on wind. It was the delivery boy from earlier, standing in the doorway with a box of teddy bears for the donation table. "Miss," he called to Grace, not sure if he should speak but brave anyway. "Miss, you helped me today." His small voice trembled, but he stood tall. Murmurs rippled. It was a soft thing, a small thing, but soft things have power when hard things break. The doctor kept talking to Olivia. "We need to check you." Ethan touched Olivia's shoulder. "We're going to the clinic room in the back," he said. "Everything will be okay." But it was a sentence thrown like a rope in a storm. It hoped, it did not know. Auntie Rose picked up the fallen clutch. Something about the way she did it was gentle, respectful, like she was lifting a baby. She looked at Ethan. He looked at her. For the first time that night, he looked like a man who had walked into a story he hadn't written. "Sir," she said softly, not moving her lips much. "You may want to see this." Her chin tilted toward the silver drive on the floor. Ethan hesitated, then stepped to the stage edge and bent to pick up the drive. He turned it in his hand. On one side, tiny letters, "Do not play." His jaw tightened. The band leader, confused and trying to be helpful, said into the mic, "Please remain calm. We will continue shortly." The crowd pretended to sit. The crowd did not breathe. The guard started to guide Grace toward a side door. She looked back once, met Auntie Rose's eyes, and saw something steady there, something that felt like a hand under water finding another hand. "Kindness walks slow, but it always arrives," Grace's mother said in her mind. "Please," Grace whispered to no one and everyone. "Please see me." At that exact moment, the power flickered. The plant wall glowed, dimmed, then glowed again. The big screen behind the stage woke up, went black, then flashed a loading icon. A hush fell so heavy it made the forks quiet themselves. Ethan, still holding the drive, looked up. The host leaped toward the tech booth. No, don't," he started. But the screen brightened and a file name appeared in white. "Olivia, rehearsal." The room tilted toward the screen like a field of tall grass leaning toward wind. Olivia, on the gurney with the doctor, saw the glow and tried to sit up. "Turn it off," she hissed. The doctor held her shoulder. "Don't move." Ethan's grip on the drive tightened. Auntie Rose whispered a prayer. Grace felt her stomach drop the way it does when an elevator falls one floor too fast. The cursor hovered over the file. It clicked by itself, or maybe by a hand people would not admit they saw. The first frame flickered into view, a paused picture that sent a shock through the room. It was Olivia in the cold dressing room, the same green dress, speaking into her phone camera with the ring glittering on her finger, hours before the gala. Her lips were parted like the start of a secret. And then the screen began to play. "Where are you watching from?" Tell me in the comments so I can greet you. The screen
If the
did not
story
care
has
who
hooked
was
you
rich or
already,
scared.
tap like,
It simply
subscribe,
played.
and turn on the bell so you
Olivia
don't
filled
miss.
the giant picture like she owned the air. She was in the dressing room at home. Same green dress. Same soft lights. The velvet ring box sat open on the vanity. The bright ring flashed on her finger. She held her phone up and spoke to someone off camera. Okay, she said, smiling in a careful way. We do a rehearsal so nothing goes wrong tonight. If she so much as breathes wrong, we proceed like... The sound cracked. A hand slipped in at the edge of the frame, placing the ring box in a clutch purse. Olivia's voice came back clearer. Remember the line, she said, tapping her belly like it was a drum to keep time. We say, she made me small on my night. We say it again if anyone doubts. She looked straight into the lens. The city loves a victim. The city pays for a victim. The video jittered. It froze on her face, still and perfect and cold. The hall gasped like one body. Someone dropped a fork. It rang on the floor and kept rolling. Ethan's jaw moved but no sound came out. Auntie Rose whispered, "Mercy," under her breath. The doctor by the clinic door pressed a hand to Olivia's shoulder, his eyes suddenly not as sure. Olivia tried to sit. "Turn it off," she snapped, her throat tight. "Turn it off now." The screen stayed frozen. The words "do not play" on the side of the silver drive flashed bright in Ethan's palm like a dare. The guards who held Grace looked at one another. Their grip loosened just a little, the way a fist opens when a truth flies past it. Grace stared up at her own life being pulled like a string on a stage she never chose. She felt two feelings at once: relief because maybe light was coming, and fear because light brings shadows with it. She held both feelings like hot stones and tried not to drop them. The band leader lowered his mic. "Folks, please, a short pause," he said, but even his voice sounded like it was looking for a place to hide. Mariah, Olivia's friend, stood very still at her table. Her eyes were wide but not sorry. The delivery boy with the teddy bears in his arms took a nervous step closer to the edge of the crowd. The screen flicked alive again. New frame. Same room. This time the camera pointed lower. A hand, not Olivia's, counted bills on the dressing table, neat stacks like little white bricks. Olivia's voice floated in from the side. "You'll get the rest after," she said. "No mistakes." The picture shook, a finger reached up and the video stopped like someone yanked a cord. Then the screen went to a menu full of tiny video squares with names like dress test, light check, and one with 3 dots and no name at all. The sound in the hall turned into little pieces: a cough, a whisper, a shoe scraping marble. Ethan looked at the tech booth. The tech team looked back like students caught with answers under the table. We didn't load that," one man said, voice too loud. It's playing from an external device." Everyone looked at the small silver drive in Ethan's hand. He looked down at it as if it had grown there while he wasn't watching. Auntie Rose moved closer to Grace and placed her body like a shield, not touching, just near. "Keep your head. Keep your heart," she murmured. Grace nodded and folded her shaking hands together. She could feel her mother's locket under her dress, warm like a tiny sun. A less loud moment slipped in. The delivery boy shuffled to Auntie Rose and Grace, still hugging the teddy bears. "Miss," he whispered, "do you want me to say what I saw?" His eyes were nervous but honest. Grace blinked fast. "What did you see?" The boy swallowed. "Earlier, when we fixed the bears, the lady with the shiny bracelet." He glanced toward Mariah and looked away quickly. "She asked me where the side hallway was. She was holding a small box. She said she was helping her friend. I thought..." He looked down at the bears like they were a map. "I thought she looked lost." Auntie Rose's eyes softened. "Thank you," she told him. "Your voice matters." She squeezed his shoulder. It was a small, quiet squeeze, but it placed a stone on the side of the scale that had been empty all night. Ethan finally found his voice. He lifted the silver drive, not high, just enough. "We will not make judgments in a rush," he said, more to the room than to anyone. "My wife needs care." He looked at the clinic door where Olivia sat breathing fast, eyes wet and sharp. "And Grace deserves fairness." His tone was even, but his hand trembled once, a small wave on a big lake. He turned to the nearest guard. "Give her space. Do not touch her unless she runs." The guard nodded, unhappy to be seen but relieved to be told. The music in the main hall went off completely, as if it decided it would not help lies or truths tonight. The only sound left was air and worry. Somewhere a glass cracked as cold water met warm hand. People in gowns shifted in their seats and checked their phones because phones make people feel in control, even when they are not. Grace's breath slowed. For a moment she was not in the gala hall. She was back in a small church with her mother. The fans were turning on the ceiling. The pastor said, "Truth walks in on barefoot feet." Her mother held her hand and whispered, "We don't shout to be seen. We stand to be seen." Grace remembered how her mother gave away half their bread to a neighbor and then somehow there was more bread the next day, as if kindness had a twin that always comes home late but always comes home. Auntie Rose leaned close to Grace's ear. "Child," she said, "you didn't come into this world to be small. But do not let pain become your voice. Let your voice be your voice." Grace nodded. "Yes, Auntie." A tear found its way down, slow and honest. She wiped it with her knuckle and kept standing. The doctor called out from the clinic door, steady and clear. "Olivia's vitals are stable. The baby's heartbeat is present." Relief moved through the hall like a breeze that didn't know it was invited. Even Grace exhaled. Ethan closed his eyes for a heartbeat and opened them again. He looked a little taller. "Thank you," he told the doctor. Olivia's face softened for a blink and then went hard again. "I want her arrested," she said, pointing at Grace with a shaking hand. "She attacked me. She attacked my child." Her voice broke on the last word in a way that made people feel things they did not know the facts for yet. "Ma'am," the doctor said gently, "we need calm." "I want her arrested," Olivia repeated louder. "Right now." The word now jumped and echoed. It ran into the corners and bounced off the flowers. Like a bad wish that arrives early, the double doors swung wide. Two uniformed officers stepped into the gold light. They looked out of place and exactly in place like rain at a picnic. Someone had called them, maybe the venue manager, maybe a guest, maybe a friend, maybe Olivia herself in the first seconds of the crash. The taller officer spoke in a practiced voice. "We received a report of an assault on a pregnant woman. We need to secure the scene and speak to involved parties." He scanned faces and found Grace. His eyes were not cruel, they were tired. Ethan moved forward, palm up. "Officers, I'm Ethan Cole. This is our foundation gala. My wife is receiving care. There is also digital evidence that may change the picture." He lifted the silver drive. The shorter officer nodded toward it. "Sir, we'll take that into evidence." Ethan hesitated, and the hesitation felt like the corner of a choice. The tech booth came to sudden, panicked life. "We're losing signal to the screen," someone shouted. The big screen flickered. The plant wall lights blinked twice like eyes about to shut. A sharp smell of hot wires slipped into the air. The taller officer turned his head. "What's going on?" A tech in a headset stammered, There's a surge. Something, he didn't finish. Then the room went dark. Not complete darkness, but the kind that throws everyone into the same small circle of self. Soft emergency lights came up like weak stars. People whispered louder. Chairs scraped. A glass fell and shattered. The screen bled to black. In the half-dark, Ethan's hand glowed like a pale flag with the silver drive bright against it. A shape moved through the dim, quick, quiet, sure. Before anyone could name it, a figure brushed Ethan's shoulder and the drive was gone. His fingers closed on air. "Hey!" he barked, more surprise than anger. The taller officer swung his flashlight beam and caught only the back of a tuxedo disappearing behind the plant wall. "Stop!" the officer yelled, giving chase. The beam hopped like a rabbit across gold leaves and velvet drapes. The fire alarm erupted next, a harsh, mean sound like 1,000 tin whistles. Red strobes spun. Sprinklers did not come on, but the room felt suddenly smaller. "Ladies and gentlemen, please proceed to the exits in an orderly," the host began, but no one in a room ever hears the word orderly when alarms are screaming. People stood, turned, bumped shoulders. A woman in a silver dress slipped on a rose petal and caught herself on a chair. An old man reached for his cane and found only someone else's elbow. In the swirl, the officers reached Grace. The shorter one, voice awkward and careful, said, "Ma'am, I need you to turn around." Auntie Rose placed herself between them and Grace, her hands up. "She's not running," she said. "She's not fighting. You will treat her like a person." The taller officer, breath fast from the short chase, nodded once. "Yes, ma'am. We will." He looked at Grace. "Ma'am?" Grace turned slowly, heart pounding. Cold metal met warm skin. The click of the first cuff felt too loud in all the noise. "Wait," Ethan said, pushing through the moving crowd, his eyes on the officers, his hands open. "Wait. There is context. There is a video." He looked toward the plant wall where the tuxedo had vanished. There was a video. His words sounded thin against the alarm scream. Olivia's cry sliced through it all. "She's trying to kill my baby," she shouted from the clinic doorway, voice jagged, face wet. The room tilted toward her again. The doctor held her shoulders. "Breathe," he urged. "Do not stand." But Olivia pushed his hands away and took one shaking step, then another, then winced and gripped the doorframe hard. "Ethan," she cried, reaching out. "Stop them. Stop them or—" She sucked in air like it hurt. Her face went white as paper. The doctor's eyes flashed serious. "Everyone give space," he barked. Now. Water hit marble. For a heartbeat no one knew where it came from. Then the doctor's voice cut clean. "Her water just broke." The alarm screamed. The crowd froze. The flashlight beam swung back wild and bright. The cuff on Grace's wrist was half closed. The stolen drive was gone into the dark. And Olivia, the billionaire's pregnant wife, slid down the doorframe with a sound like fear learning its own name. "Where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments so I can greet you in the next chapter. If this story has you hooked, tap like, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss." The fire alarm screamed like it wanted to split the world in half, but all eyes were on Olivia. Her green dress was darkening at the hem, spreading quick like ink in water. The doctor barked again, louder, "Clear space. Now." His voice cut through panic like a blade through rope. Two servers dropped trays of glasses to make room, the shatter drowned by the alarm. Guests pressed against the walls in their glittering gowns, their diamond bracelets catching the red strobe light. Ethan's face drained of color. "Olivia," he whispered, stumbling toward her. His hands shook, unsure whether to hold her up or step back and let the doctor work. Olivia clutched her belly, gasping. "It's too soon," she cried. "It's too soon." The officers who had been cuffing Grace froze. One looked from Olivia to Grace, then back again, his hand still on the half-closed cuff. Grace's pulse hammered in her ears. She wanted to speak, to say "please believe me," but her throat was locked. Auntie Rose's hand rested firm on her shoulder, grounding her. "Stand tall, child," she whispered. "Storms come and storms go, but roots stay." The doctor shouted, "We need to move her to the clinic room, now. If we delay, both mother and child could be at risk." Two paramedics pushed through the crowd with a stretcher, their faces calm but quick. Olivia groaned, sinking lower until they caught her. The green fabric bunched under their hands. One paramedic murmured, "You're safe. We've got you." Ethan followed, frantic. "Tell me what to do." "Stay calm, sir," the doctor snapped. "We'll update you." They wheeled Olivia back into the clinic room. The door slammed shut behind them. The sound echoed through the gala like a judge's gavel. The alarm still blared, but softer now, as if the sound itself was tiring. The crowd buzzed with fear and whispers. "Did the maid cause this?" someone asked. "No, it was stress. I saw her kick her." "But what about the video?" The hall became a hive of half-truths and buzzing rumors. Ethan turned on the officers. "You can't arrest her now," he said sharply, pointing at Grace. "Not when evidence is missing. Not when my wife—" His voice broke. He dragged a hand over his face. The taller officer nodded. "We're not moving her until things are stable." He looked at Grace. "But she's still a suspect. Don't let her leave this room." Grace's knees wanted to buckle. Auntie Rose squeezed her hand. "Stand," she whispered again. Grace lifted her chin. Her voice, small but steady, finally slipped out, "I never wanted harm. I was only defending myself." The officer held her gaze, and for a heartbeat, his tired eyes softened. The lights flickered back on. The fire alarm cut out with one last shriek. Silence fell so sudden it rang in people's ears. Then chaos. Guests started rushing toward the exits. A woman in a silver gown muttered, "This is cursed." A man in a black suit said, "We shouldn't be here when police start asking questions." The host tried shouting above them, "Ladies and gentlemen, please," but his voice was trampled by shuffling feet. Ethan didn't move. He stood rooted, staring at the plant wall where the figure had disappeared with the silver drive. His voice was quiet but firm. "Someone planned this. Someone wanted this night to burn." His words hung in the air like smoke. Then a less extreme moment came. The delivery boy with teddy bears shuffled forward again. His voice cracked as he spoke. "Mr. Cole, sir. I saw someone take that silver thing. They went through that back door." He pointed with a shaking hand. Everyone turned. A narrow service corridor, half hidden by curtains, gaped like a mouth. Ethan's eyes sharpened. He crouched to the boy's level. "You're brave," he said. "Stay by Auntie Rose. I'll handle this." He straightened, then turned to the taller officer. "We go together. Whoever has that drive has answers." The officer nodded, already pulling his radio. But before they could move, the clinic door burst open. The doctor's face was slick with sweat. His voice cut across the room. "We need an ambulance now. The baby's heart rate is dropping." The paramedics rushed past, pushing Olivia's stretcher out into the hall. Her face was pale, her lips trembling. Ethan's composure cracked. "No, please, you promised." He grabbed her hand, jogging alongside the stretcher. "Stay with me, Liv. Please." Olivia's eyes fluttered open. She whispered, barely audible, "Ethan, don't let her win." Her gaze flicked just once toward Grace. Then her eyes rolled back and the doctor shouted orders no one else understood. The stretcher disappeared through the exit doors. Sirens wailed outside, closer and closer. Inside the hall, Grace stood frozen. Olivia's last words replayed in her mind like a curse. Don't let her win. Who was her? Did Olivia mean Grace, or someone else? Auntie Rose whispered, "Child, this fight is bigger than you. But truth has long legs. It will catch up." The taller officer's radio crackled. "Unit 6, report. Suspect in tux heading east exit. Repeat, suspect heading." The voice cut off in static. The officer cursed under his breath. They're getting away with the drive. Ethan turned, face pale and sharp. "Not if I can stop it." He looked at Grace, really looked, for the first time since the chaos began. "If you're innocent, this might be your only chance to prove it." The shorter officer frowned. "Sir, she's still under suspicion." Ethan's voice was steel. "Suspicion doesn't change the truth. We need every witness. She stays with me." And before anyone could argue, Ethan started toward the service corridor, the officers following. Auntie Rose pulled Grace close. "Stay behind me. The storm is moving." But the storm wasn't done. From outside, the sirens cut suddenly silent. Then a loud crash shook the gala doors, rattling the chandeliers. Guests screamed. One of the paramedics stumbled back into the hall, face white. "The ambulance," he shouted. "It's been hit." The room froze. Ethan spun around. "What do you mean hit?" The paramedic's voice cracked. "A black SUV rammed it at the corner. They dragged Olivia out." The hall gasped as one. Grace's heart stopped in her chest. Auntie Rose's hand clutched hers tight. Ethan's face went from shock to fury. "They've taken my wife," he whispered, voice shaking. And then, louder, like a man who had lost patience with fear. "Whoever planned this has declared war. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments so I can greet you in Chapter 4. If this suspense has your heart racing, smash the like button, subscribe and ring the bell you don't want to miss." The word war rolled through the hall like thunder shaking glass windows. Ethan's voice, sharp and ragged, echoed long after his lips stopped moving. People whispered, gasped, or simply stared. The billionaire, usually calm and polished like marble, now looked raw, dangerous, like a man with nothing left to lose. Grace's knees went weak. A billion thoughts ran wild in her head. They took her. The pregnant woman. They took her. For a breath, Grace forgot the kick, forgot the accusations. She only saw Olivia's pale face on that stretcher, her whispered words, "Don't let her win," and the terror that hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Auntie Rose held Grace close. "Steady," she murmured. "This is where storms test roots." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were fierce. The taller officer barked into his radio. "All units, we have a 207, kidnapping in progress. Black SUV heading east. Repeat, east." The static answer came back broken. Roadblock, shots fired, then silence. Ethan slammed his fist into the back of a chair, splintering the wood. His jaw clenched. "They think they can touch my family? At my gala?" His eyes blazed. Then he turned, pointing straight at Grace. "Tell me what you know. Now." Grace froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came. I don't know," she stammered. "I swear, I don't know who took her." Her voice cracked like thin ice. But Ethan's glare wasn't only anger. It was desperation. "The video," he said through gritted teeth. "The missing drive. This isn't random. Someone planned every step. My wife's life, my child's life, it all ties back." He stepped closer, eyes boring into hers. "Did you see anything? Anyone?" Grace's memory sparked. The velvet ring box. The hand that slipped it into the clutch. Mariah's bracelets clinking. The delivery boy whispering she asked for the side hallway. Grace swallowed. "Mariah," she whispered. The name cut the noise of the room. Heads turned. Mariah, standing near the champagne table, flinched. Her diamonds caught the red emergency light, sharp as knives. "Me?" she scoffed, trying to laugh, but her voice shook. "How dare you accuse me? She's lying. She's a maid. She kicked a pregnant woman." But the delivery boy's small voice piped up again. It's true. I saw her with the box. She asked me where the hallway was. His hands shook on the teddy bears, but he stood firm. All eyes fell on Mariah. Her painted smile cracked. She reached for her glass but set it down again, hands trembling. That doesn't prove anything, she snapped. What, a street kid and a maid are your witnesses now? This is ridiculous. Ethan's voice dropped low. Ridiculous is my wife being snatched from an ambulance. He moved toward her, slow and dangerous. Where is the drive, Mariah? Mariah backed up, bumping the table. Glasses toppled. Champagne spilled, fizzing on marble like angry whispers. I don't have it, she shouted. I was only... She stopped herself, biting down on the rest of her words. Too late. Everyone heard the break in her sentence. The taller officer stepped in, hand brushing his cuffs. Ma'am, we'll need you to come with us. No. Mariah cried. You don't understand. It wasn't supposed to. She stopped again, chest heaving. Sweat dotted her forehead despite the cool hall. She looked at Ethan, eyes wide with something between fear and guilt. They'll kill me if I talk. The shorter officer caught her arm. Talk now, or you may not get another chance. For a moment, Mariah looked like she might crumble. Her lips parted, words trembling at the edge. The entire room leaned forward, waiting for her secret. The clinic doors burst open again. The doctor stumbled out, face pale. We have a problem, he said hoarsely. They cut the power in the back wing. I can't reach the hospital. Olivia is gone. The hall gasped as one. Ethan's world cracked. Gone? He roared. What do you mean gone? She was taken from the ambulance, the doctor said, voice shaking. And the paramedic who stayed behind is missing too. Ethan's face turned stone hard. Enough games, he growled, spinning back to Mariah. Talk. Who are you working with? Mariah's eyes darted around the room like a cornered animal. I didn't know it would go this far, she whispered. They promised it was just a rehearsal. Just a scandal to embarrass her. I never agreed to, her voice cracked. To kidnapping. Who? Ethan thundered. But before she could answer, a loud bang echoed from the back corridor. A sharp, metallic clang. Then another. Like a door being forced. The officers drew their guns. Everyone stay down. Ethan's fists clenched. They're not finished. His voice was ice. They're coming back. The lights flickered. The crowd screamed. A shadow moved in the service hall. Then footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Auntie Rose whispered into Grace's ear, steady as ever, Child, the truth is about to walk in. And just as the officers leveled their guns, the door swung wide. And a hooded figure stepped into the hall, dragging one of the paramedics by the collar. The man's lip was bleeding, his uniform torn. The hooded figure's voice was low, distorted. This is only the beginning, they said. The crowd gasped. Ethan's jaw locked. Grace's heart stopped. And in the hooded figure's other hand was Olivia's hospital bracelet. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments so I can greet you in the story. If you're hooked, smash that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications. The storm is only getting darker. The bracelet dangled from the hooded figure's hand like a snake. Red strobes from the emergency lights flickered across it, making the plastic tag gleam in a way that froze every heart in the room. Olivia's name was printed clear on it. The same bracelet the doctor had secured around her wrist not 30 minutes ago. Gasps spread like wildfire. The paramedic being dragged stumbled forward, groaning, his face swollen. The hooded figure shoved him to the floor as if he weighed nothing. Listen carefully, the distorted voice growled, carrying across the gala hall. She's alive, for now. But if anyone follows, if anyone tries to be a hero, the figure held the bracelet higher, you will never see her or the child again. Ethan's fists trembled. His jaw muscles worked furiously, but he didn't move closer. His eyes locked on the bracelet, on the proof that his wife was in enemy hands. Where is she? He demanded, his voice a thunderclap. What do you want from me? The hooded figure tilted their head slowly. You'll know soon enough. Consider this your first warning. Then, without another word, they turned and bolted back down the service corridor. Stop them. Ethan roared. The taller officer sprinted after the figure, his gun drawn. The shorter officer helped the injured paramedic up. Ethan lunged as if to follow, but the officer caught his arm. Sir, you can't. I can and I will. Ethan barked, shaking him off. But Auntie Rose stepped forward, her hand like iron on Ethan's shoulder. You'll lose your head in their storm, she said, her voice steady. Don't fight blind. You have too much to lose. For a moment Ethan's fire met her calm. Then he exhaled sharply, forcing himself still. The injured paramedic coughed, his voice weak. They knew our route. The SUV was waiting. It wasn't random. He grimaced. They called her by name. Mrs. Cole. Like they'd studied her. The room filled with hushed murmurs. Guests whispered words like inside job, planned, and betrayal. Grace's stomach twisted. Inside job. Could that mean Mariah? Or someone deeper? Ethan turned, his gaze sweeping across the hall until it landed on Mariah. She shrank under the weight of it. No more lies, he said coldly. You said you only wanted a scandal. Who hired you? Mariah's lips trembled. I can't, she whispered. You will, Ethan snapped, stepping toward her. Because my wife and child are out there, and I won't let them pay for your silence. Mariah's knees buckled. She sank into a chair, sobbing. It was never supposed to go this far, she said through tears. It was just supposed to ruin her image. To make people question her as a mother. To embarrass her before the baby came. But, she shook her head violently. But someone else got involved. They took over. I don't know their faces. I swear. They called themselves The Circle. The name slithered through the hall like poison. The Circle. Guests looked at one another in alarm. Auntie Rose's face hardened. Ethan froze, his expression unreadable. The Circle? He repeated, his voice low. Mariah nodded, trembling. They said if I didn't help plant the ring box, they'd destroy me. They promised it would end at humiliation. But when I saw the SUV hit the ambulance, she buried her face in her hands. I realized I was nothing but a pawn. Ethan leaned close, his words like steel. Then tell me where to find them. Mariah shook her head helplessly. All I know is, they wanted the gala, the cameras, the chaos. They wanted Olivia broken in public. And they wanted, she faltered. They wanted what? Ethan pressed. Mariah whispered, they wanted you angry. So angry you'd make mistakes. A heavy silence followed. Grace's chest tightened. She thought of the silver drive. The words etched into it, do not play. The rehearsal video. The stacks of money. This wasn't about the ring. This wasn't even about Olivia alone. It was bigger. Much bigger. The taller officer returned, panting, his gun still drawn. They're gone. Slipped into the tunnels under the building. Too many exits. He glanced at Ethan. We'll need reinforcements, sir. Ethan straightened, his fire returning, sharper than ever. Then call them. And call my security team. If the Circle thinks they can break me by taking my wife, they've forgotten who I am. His eyes blazed. I built empires from nothing. I've buried men twice as clever. And I will burn the world to get her back. But even as his voice rang strong, Grace saw the crack behind his eyes. Fear. The same fear that whispered through her veins. Then a quieter moment slipped in. The delivery boy tugged Grace's sleeve. Miss, he whispered. What if the drive tells us more? What if it's the key? His small voice carried a strange wisdom. Grace knelt, meeting his eyes. It's gone, she said softly. Stolen. The boy shook his head. Not all of it. He dug into his pocket, pulling out a tiny black SD card. I picked this up when the hooded one dropped it. It looks like it belongs to the same thing. Grace's breath caught. She took the card, holding it like it was made of fire. This could change everything. Auntie Rose's eyes lit with quiet strength. Then truth has left us a seed. And seeds, child, always grow. But before Grace could speak, a loud crash boomed from outside. The sound of tires screeching. The echo of gunshots. Guests screamed again. The taller officer barked, everyone down. Ethan clenched his fists. His voice was a vow. They're not escaping this city with my wife. Grace looked at the SD card in her hand. Her pulse thundered. Somewhere inside, she knew, this little piece of plastic might hold the secret behind the Circle. But at that moment the double doors burst open. And a masked gunman strode in, rifle raised. Where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments so I can greet you in the story. If this suspense is keeping you hooked, hit that like button, subscribe and turn on notifications. The storm is only getting wilder. The masked gunman's boots pounded against the marble floor, echoing like war drums. Gasps and screams erupted again as guests ducked under tables, gowns and tuxedos sprawling in the chaos. The rifle swept across the hall like a hungry eye, its barrel catching the red strobe light. Everybody down, the gunman roared, his voice muffled but strong. Nobody moves or I paint these walls. Ethan's fists clenched at his sides, his whole body vibrating with fury, but the taller officer grabbed his arm. "Don't," he hissed. "He'll shoot someone to prove his point." The gunman's mask turned, landing squarely on Grace. His finger twitched against the trigger. "You," he barked. "Stand up." Grace's heart nearly stopped. Her legs refused to move, but Auntie Rose gripped her hand and whispered, "Stand, child. Roots don't fear the storm." With trembling knees, Grace rose slowly, her hands raised. The SD card in her fist burned like fire. The gunman stepped closer, his shadow stretching long across the marble. "Hand it over," he growled. "Now." Ethan's eyes widened. "The card?" he whispered under his breath. "They know." The shorter officer lifted his gun an inch, but the taller one hissed, "Not yet. One wrong move and she's gone." Grace's throat was dry. Her eyes darted to Ethan, then to Auntie Rose. Auntie Rose gave her a small nod, steady as a mountain. "Don't break. Don't give them what they want too easy." "I don't know what you're talking about," Grace said, her voice shaking but loud enough to carry. The gunman slammed the rifle butt against the table beside her. Plates shattered. Guess screamed. "Don't play with me, Maid," he spat. "We know you picked it up. Hand it over or people die." The red strobes flickered across his mask, making it look like a devil's grin. Grace's fingers curled tighter around the card. "If I give it to him, the truth is gone. If I don't, people could die." Ethan stepped forward, his voice a whip. "You lay one hand on her and I'll personally end you." His words crackled with rage, but his eyes flicked to Grace's hand. He knew what she held. The gunman let out a harsh laugh. "Big talk, billionaire. But your wife wasn't so hard to take, was she?" His words cut deep and Ethan's jaw flexed with murderous fury. The taller officer shouted, "Drop the weapon," aiming his gun now. The hall went dead silent. The gunman swung his rifle toward him. One shot and this Maid dies first. Time seemed to freeze. And then, a small, trembling voice pierced the silence. "Leave her alone." Every head turned. The delivery boy, clutching one of the teddy bears, had stepped forward. His little chest rose and fell like a drum. His eyes burned with something bigger than his years. "She helped me when no one else cared," he said, his voice cracking but clear. "You're nothing but a coward hiding behind a mask." The hall gasped. The gunman turned his rifle toward the boy. "Sit down, brat, before you." "No." Grace shouted, stepping in front of the boy, shielding him with her body. Her voice cracked, but it carried like thunder. "If you want it, take me. But you won't touch him." The room froze at the sight. A maid, trembling but unbroken, protecting a boy with nothing but her body. Something in the gunman faltered. His hands shook for just a second. Then he growled and lunged toward Grace. But Auntie Rose moved faster than anyone thought she could. With a strength hidden in her years, she swung a heavy silver tray straight into his wrist. The rifle clattered to the floor, sliding across the marble. "Now!" the taller officer barked. Both officers charged. Guests screamed and scattered. The gunman tried to reach for a knife strapped to his leg, but Ethan tackled him with the rage of a father and husband wronged. Chairs toppled, glass shattered, and the hall filled with chaos. Grace grabbed the boy and pulled him behind the buffet table, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break her ribs. Auntie Rose crouched beside them, whispering, "Breathe, child. Breathe. The storm hasn't won yet." The struggle on the floor was brutal. Ethan slammed his fist into the gunman's mask again and again, the sound sickening. The taller officer ripped the mask free, and the hall gasped. It wasn't a stranger. It was Marcus, Ethan's own head of personal security. "Marcus." Ethan whispered, his knuckles bloody, his eyes wide with betrayal. The gunman smirked through split lips. "You should have paid me more, boss. The circle pays double. And they don't care about rules." The shorter officer shoved his knee into Marcus's back, snapping the cuffs on. But Marcus only laughed, spitting blood onto the marble. "You'll never see her again. By the time you do, she'll already be broken." Ethan's roar shook the walls. "Where is she?" Marcus's laughter echoed like poison. "You'll find out, at the auction." The word auction sucked the air out of the hall. People gasped. Grace's stomach dropped. Auntie Rose whispered, "Dear Lord?" Ethan froze, his eyes wide with horror. "Auction?" he repeated, his voice hollow. Marcus grinned, blood dripping from his mouth. "Your wife. Your unborn child. To the circle, everything, and everyone, has a price." The hall erupted into chaos. Guests screamed, some fainted. Ethan staggered back, his face pale. The officers dragged Marcus up, but his laughter echoed long after his lips stopped moving. Grace's fingers tightened around the SD card. Her heart thundered. Auction. Olivia. The circle. This card may be the only way to stop it. She looked at Ethan, broken and furious. She looked at the boy, brave beyond his years. She looked at Auntie Rose, steady as a mountain. And then she whispered to herself, almost like a vow. Truth walks slow, but it always arrives. But just as she thought she'd found a sliver of hope, the lights cut out again. Total blackness swallowed the hall. And in that darkness came a voice, not Marcus's but a woman's, cold and sharp like glass. Chapter 1 is over. Now the real game begins. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments so I can greet you in the story. If this story has you hooked, hit like, subscribe and ring the bell because the next twist will leave you breathless. The darkness was thick, like a blanket thrown over the world. People held their breath, frozen in fear, waiting for something, anything, to break it. Then came the sound of footsteps, sharp, deliberate heels striking marble, echoing with authority. When the backup lights flickered on, every eye turned toward the stage. There she stood. A tall woman in a crimson gown that shimmered under the weak lights. Her face was hidden by a jeweled mask, but her presence filled the room like fire sucking up air. Her voice, the same cold, sharp voice they'd heard in the dark, rang out. "Ladies and gentlemen," she purred, "tonight's performance was only a preview. The true show begins at dawn." She spread her arms as though addressing a theater, not a crime scene. "Your beloved Olivia has been moved to a secure location. The circle thanks you all for your cooperation." Ethan surged forward, his voice a snarl. "Where is she?" The masked woman tilted her head, amused. "Patience, Mr. Cole. You've built empires on patience, haven't you? Now we'll see how patient you are when it comes to blood." The taller officer raised his gun. "Hands up. You're under arrest." The woman laughed, low and musical. "Oh, officer, if only it were that simple." She snapped her fingers. The chandeliers above the hall flickered, and then exploded. Glass shards rained down, sending guests screaming and diving for cover. The officers shielded their heads. Ethan lunged forward, but the crimson woman vanished into the chaos like smoke. "Secure the exits," the shorter officer shouted. "She's still inside." But the hall was pure madness now. Guests trampled over gowns and chairs. The scent of smoke crept in. Someone had lit a fire in the service hall. Flames glowed faintly, their smoke curling like snakes across the ceiling. Grace clutched the SD card tighter. Her body trembled, but her mind screamed, "This card is the key. It has to be." She turned to Auntie Rose. "We need to see what's on it. Now." Auntie Rose nodded firmly. "Truth doesn't wait. Let's find a way." Ethan overheard, his eyes wild but sharp. "I have a secure laptop in the manager's office," he said. "We can load it there. But first," he turned to the officers. "Protect my people. No one else gets taken." The taller officer nodded, barking orders into his radio. But Grace noticed his hands were trembling, everyone's were. Ethan looked back at Grace. "You carry the truth now. Stay close to me." Grace swallowed, then nodded. For the first time, Ethan wasn't looking at her as just a maid. His eyes held something different, respect and maybe even reliance. They pushed through the fleeing crowd, heading toward the manager's office at the far end of the hall. The delivery boy clung to Auntie Rose's hand, refusing to let go. But just as they reached the door, a chilling sound stopped them cold. A voice, loud and distorted, filled the speakers hidden in the walls. It was Olivia. "Ethan." Her voice cracked, desperate. They have me. Don't trust anyone. Not the police. Not your friends. Not." A loud slap cut her off, followed by muffled screams. The speakers went dead. Ethan's face twisted in agony. He slammed his fist against the wall. "Olivia." His shout shook the room. Grace's blood turned to ice. Not the police? Not your friends? What did Olivia mean? Who among them was the traitor? The shorter officer growled. "They're playing mind games." But his voice was less certain than before. Ethan turned to Grace. "We open that card. Now." Inside the manager's office, the air was thick with dust and the faint hum of failing power. Ethan shoved a laptop onto the desk, his fingers flying over the keys. "Close the door," he barked. The screen flickered to life. Grace handed him the SD card with shaking fingers. Ethan slid it into the slot. For a moment, nothing. Then a folder appeared. Its name was chillingly simple, Property of the Circle. He clicked it open. Dozens of files appeared. Videos, documents, photos. Grace's stomach twisted as she read the labels. Rehearsal. Shipment. Auction list. Olivia 1. God. Ethan whispered. He clicked one at random, auction list. The screen filled with names. High-profile figures. Billionaires. Politicians. Even celebrities. Each name was paired with a price, and beside them were chilling categories. Women. Children. Secrets. Grace covered her mouth, horror flooding her. They're selling people. Auntie Rose crossed herself, whispering, Lord, protect us. Ethan scrolled faster, his breath ragged. Then he froze. His own wife's name glared back at him. Olivia Cole, opening bid, $10 million. The room went deathly still. Ethan's hand shook as he slammed the laptop shut. His face was pale, his jaw locked. They dare put a price on my family? His voice was a whisper, but it burned hotter than fire. Before anyone could speak, the laptop screen flickered back on by itself. The camera light turned green. And the crimson woman's masked face filled the screen. Well done, Mr. Cole, she purred. You found Act 2. She leaned close, her jeweled mask glinting. But be warned, every move you make, we're watching. And when the auction begins, the highest bidder decides whether your wife lives or dies. The screen went black. The laptop fan whirred. The room was silent except for Ethan's ragged breathing. He clenched his fists so tight his knuckles cracked. They want a war? He whispered. Then I'll give them one. Grace's heart thundered. She stared at the laptop, at the empty screen, at the SD card still half sticking out. Her whisper trembled. But what if war is exactly what they want? Where are you watching from? Tell me in the comments so I can greet you in the story. If the suspense has your heart racing, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell. You won't believe the storm that's coming. Ethan's words still lingered in the air like smoke from a gunshot. Then I'll give them one. His fists trembled, his face pale but fierce. Grace had never seen a man look so powerful and so broken at the same time. Auntie Rose laid a hand on his arm, her voice steady as always. Be careful, son. Anger burns everything in its path, even the roots you mean to save. Ethan turned, his eyes wild. They've priced my wife like a commodity. My unborn child. You think I'll sit here and pray while vultures circle? His voice cracked. For a moment, the billionaire mask slipped, and what remained was just a husband, desperate to save his family. Grace swallowed hard. Her hand shook as she touched the laptop. We need to be smart. If we rush, we play their game. And the circle, they want you angry, sir. They want you blind. The shorter officer, still guarding the door, added grimly, and we can't rule out that they've infiltrated us. Olivia's message, don't trust the police, that wasn't random. It means someone close has already bought. The taller officer stiffened, his jaw tightening. If you're suggesting me? I'm suggesting no one is clean, the shorter one snapped back. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke on. Grace felt her stomach knot. Who could she trust? The police? The staff? Even Ethan? Olivia's warning rang in her head. Don't trust anyone. The delivery boy broke the silence with his soft, trembling voice. Miss, what about the other files? His small hand pointed at the laptop. Maybe they tell us where she is. Ethan inhaled sharply, his rage folding into focus. He opened the laptop again. The folder blinked on screen. His hand hovered over one file, Olivia 1. He clicked. The video opened with a shaky camera feed. Olivia sat in a dimly lit room, chained to a chair. Her green dress was torn, her face pale but defiant. Behind her stood two masked figures, silent as statues. Ethan, she whispered into the camera. Her voice cracked, her eyes glistened. They want you broken. They want you desperate. Don't give them what they want. Whatever they're after, it isn't just money. She swallowed hard. I don't know how long I have. But remember what I told you, don't let her win. The screen glitched, freezing on Olivia's frightened eyes before cutting to black. The room was silent. Then Ethan whispered, her. She said it again. Who is her? Everyone's gaze slid toward Mariah, still seated in the corner, trembling. She shook her head violently. No. It's not me. I didn't order this. I told you I was just a pawn. I swear. Grace's heart thudded. Could Olivia mean Mariah? Or someone else entirely? The Crimson Woman? Before Ethan could press further, the taller officer's radio crackled. A harsh voice came through. Unit 4 reporting, Circle operatives sighted near the docks. Black SUVs. Possible transport staging. The shorter officer swore under his breath. They're moving her. Ethan's fire flared again. Then we moved too. He stood tall, steel in his voice. I have my own men. Private security better than half this city's force. We'll hit the docks tonight. Grace's pulse spiked. No, wait. If we charge in blind, it could be a trap. What if they expect you? Ethan's eyes bore into hers. What choice do I have? Sit here while they auction my wife like cattle? Auntie Rose spoke softly but firmly. A lion doesn't walk into the hunter's net. He waits, then strikes where the net is weakest. Ethan clenched his jaw. For a long moment, the fire in him battled the wisdom in her words. Finally, he exhaled sharply. Fine. Then we use the card to find the weak spot. He turned to Grace. You've been sharper than most tonight. What do you see? Grace's heart pounded. Me. But she forced herself to breathe, to think. Her eyes swept the laptop screen. The files weren't just random. They were organized. Coded. She spotted one tucked at the bottom, nearly hidden. Shipment schedules. She clicked. A list of dates and routes filled the screen. Cargo manifests. Shipments disguised as charity donations. Food boxes, medical supplies. But every so often, another line appeared, darker and colder. Special lot. Each one listed under auction transport. Grace's breath hitched. They've been moving people like cargo, she whispered. And tomorrow night, at the docks, there's a shipment scheduled. Ethan's hands tightened into fists. That's where she'll be. Auntie Rose's face was grim. Then that's where the lion waits. But just as they found a thread of hope, the laptop beeped sharply. A countdown appeared on screen. File wipe initiated. 10:00, 9:59. Grace's stomach dropped. They're deleting everything. Ethan cursed, slamming the desk. They knew we'd find it. The taller officer rushed forward. We need to pull the card. But the screen flashed a warning. Attempting removal will trigger complete wipe. Grace's mind raced. 10 minutes. 10 minutes before the truth is gone forever. She looked at Ethan. He looked at her. Both knew, if they lost this data, they'd lose Olivia's only map back home. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. His voice was raw, shaking with desperation. Grace, you said truth walks slow but arrives. This is your moment. Save the truth. Save my wife. Grace stared at the countdown. Her hands trembled over the keys. 9 minutes. The numbers ticked down like the heartbeat of doom. And then, the delivery boy whispered, almost shy, Miss, I know a trick. He pulled a tiny USB stick from his pocket. My brother, he taught me how to copy files fast before they delete. He used it in the market when people tried to steal his music. Grace's eyes widened. Ethan grabbed the boy's shoulders. Can it work? The boy nodded nervously. Only if we hurry. Ethan's voice broke into a shout. Then do it. The boy plugged in the USB. The laptop screen flickered, the countdown still ticking. 8:32. 8:31. Grace and the boy worked side by side, her fingers flying, his trembling but sure. Auntie Rose prayed under her breath. Ethan paced like a caged lion, fists clenched. The officers guarded the door, weapons raised as if the storm itself might break through. 7:45. 7:44. 7:43. The files began copying. One by one. Auction list. Shipment schedules. Olivia 1. Grace's breath caught with every beep. But the red light on the USB blinked steady. And then, a gunshot shattered the office window. Glass rained down. A bullet slammed into the wall inches from the laptop. Everyone screamed. From outside a voice roared, Too slow, Ethan. The circle always wins. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments so I can greet you in the story. If you're hooked, smash that like button, subscribe and ring the bell because the next chapter is where secrets explode. The gunshot's echo rattled the small office. Shards of glass clung to the window frame, glittering like cruel stars. The laptop teetered on the desk from the shock. The countdown kept ticking. 6:55. 6:54. Get down, the taller officer barked, shoving Grace and the boy under the desk. Auntie Rose dropped to her knees, covering the child with her body. Ethan crouched low but his eyes never left the window, his jaw locked in fury. Another shot rang out, punching through a lamp. Sparks burst, showering the carpet in smoke. The shorter officer returned fire, the muzzle flash lighting the room in strobe bursts. Sniper, the taller officer growled, peering through the shattered blinds. On the rooftop across the street. Ethan's fist slammed the desk. They're trying to wipe the drive and kill the truth with it. His eyes darted to the laptop. 6:22. 6:21. Grace's hands shook but she forced them steady. The files are still copying. We can't stop. The boy's small fingers danced over the USB faster now. His lips moved, whispering something like a prayer, or maybe a chant his brother taught him. Come on, come on. Another bullet cracked through the wall inches above Auntie Rose's head. She didn't flinch. She only whispered, not today. Evil doesn't get to write the last page. The taller officer pulled his radio. Sniper fire confirmed. Request immediate rooftop units. Static answered him. His eyes darkened. They've jammed our signal. Ethan stood suddenly, rage giving him boldness. Cover me. He sprinted toward the office shelves, yanking down a steel award plaque. He held it up like a shield, moving to block the window. The next bullet slammed into the plaque with a ringing clang, sparks flying. Ethan gritted his teeth, holding firm. Keep copying, he roared. Grace's heart pounded as the files blinked across the screen. Auction list. Shipment schedules. Olivia, 1. Circle members. Her breath caught. There's a list of members. Ethan turned, eyes blazing. Save it. That list is worth more than gold. 5:02. 5:01. The laptop screen flickered again. A live feed popped up unprompted. The crimson woman's masked face filled the screen. Her jeweled mask gleamed, her voice smooth and mocking. Oh, Ethan, she purred. Still clinging to hope? It's almost sweet. Ethan snarled. Where is my wife? The woman tilted her head, amused. Alive, for now. But time is cruel, isn't it? Every second you waste, her value increases. Buyers love desperation. Grace shouted at the screen before she could stop herself. Why her? Why Olivia? The crimson woman's masked face turned toward Grace, as if she could see straight through the camera. Her laugh was soft, dangerous. Because she's more than a wife. She's leverage. And leverage is everything. The screen went black again. Grace's stomach twisted. Leverage? Against who? 4:15. 4:14. The boy's USB blinked faster. The laptop chimed. Transfer complete, Grace gasped, relief flooding her chest. We've got it all. Ethan yanked the USB free, clutching it like a weapon. His eyes burned. Then we take the fight to them. But before triumph could settle, the shorter officer swore. We've got company. From the hallway outside, the heavy thud of boots echoed. Multiple sets. Moving fast. The taller officer cursed. They're breaching. Ethan's eyes snapped to Grace. Get her out. No, Grace said quickly, fear sharpening her voice. They're after me. After the USB. If I run, I'll lead them straight to it. The boy tugged her sleeve, whispering fiercely, hide it. They'll never suspect me. He held out his teddy bear. Slip it inside. Grace blinked, stunned. But, do it, he urged. His eyes, though young, were fierce with bravery. Ethan hesitated only a moment before nodding. Grace slid the USB deep into the bear's stitching. The boy hugged it tight against his chest. The boots grew louder. Shouts echoed, secure the Maid. Secure the drive. The shorter officer braced at the door, gun ready. Here they come. The door burst open with a deafening crash. Masked men stormed in, rifles raised. Chaos erupted. Gunfire cracked. Wood splintered. The taller officer dropped one with a clean shot. Ethan swung the steel plaque like a shield, ramming it into another. Auntie Rose pulled Grace and the boy tight against her, shielding them with her whole frame. One masked man lunged straight for Grace, his hand outstretched. The card, he snarled. But before he could grab her, Ethan tackled him to the ground, punching with raw fury. You'll never touch her. The boy clutched the teddy bear tighter, whispering again like a prayer. Grace's heart hammered. The truth is safe, for now. But then the crimson woman's voice echoed again, this time from the hallway, smooth and mocking. Bring me the Maid alive. Kill the rest. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments so I can greet you in the story. If this story has you hooked, hit like, subscribe and turn on the bell, because the finale is going to shake everything. The crimson woman's command cut through the gunfire like a blade. Bring me the Maid alive. Kill the rest. Her words weren't shouted, they didn't need to be. They dripped with authority, and her soldiers obeyed without hesitation. The office turned into a battlefield. Bullets shredded bookshelves, papers flew like wounded birds. The taller officer dropped to one knee, firing steady bursts, his jaw set. The shorter officer covered the flank, teeth gritted as he reloaded. Ethan fought like a man possessed. He swung the steel plaque into a soldier's helmet, the clang echoing, then drove his fist into another's jaw. Blood smeared his knuckles, but he didn't care. His wife's name was the only drumbeat in his mind. Olivia. Olivia. Grace clung to the boy and Auntie Rose, her heart slamming against her ribs. The teddy bear pressed between them felt like the only anchor in a storm, the tiny USB hidden inside carrying the truth that could burn the circle to the ground. But the soldiers kept coming. One grabbed Ethan's arm, twisting hard. Another lunged at the taller officer, slamming him against the wall. The shorter officer went down with a grunt, clutching his side. "Ethan!" Grace screamed as one soldier raised his rifle, aiming straight for his chest. Ethan turned too slow. But Auntie Rose moved faster. She grabbed a fallen tray, hurling it with a strength born of desperation. The metal disc spun through the air and smacked the rifle aside just as it fired. The bullet ricocheted into the ceiling, showering sparks. "You will not take him," she hissed, standing tall despite her age. The crimson woman stepped into the doorway then, calm amid the chaos. Her jeweled mask glinted under the flickering lights, her crimson gown untouched by the dust and smoke. She looked like a queen walking through a war. "Enough," she said softly. The soldiers froze instantly like puppets on strings. Even Ethan stopped mid-punch, panting, glaring at her. Her eyes, cold and sharp, fixed on Grace. "The maid," she murmured. "The little thorn." She stepped closer, her heels clicking. "You've caused me more trouble than you're worth." Grace swallowed hard, her legs trembling. But Auntie Rose stepped in front of her, arms wide. "You'll have to go through me." The crimson woman tilted her head, almost amused. "So be it." She raised her hand. Two soldiers moved forward, rifles ready. Ethan roared, breaking free from his captor. He lunged at the crimson woman, but she didn't flinch. One soldier swung his rifle but into Ethan's ribs, dropping him to the floor with a gasp of pain. "Ethan!" Grace cried, tears burning her eyes. The crimson woman crouched beside him, her mask inches from his bloodied face. "You built empires, Mr. Cole. But every empire falls. And yours will fall tonight." Ethan spat blood onto the marble. "You'll never win." She smiled beneath the mask. "I already have. Your wife is gone. Your child will be sold to the highest bidder. And soon the world will know Ethan Cole, the man who couldn't even protect his own family." Grace's hands clenched around the teddy bear. Something hot and fierce surged inside her, burning through the fear. She stood, stepping out from behind Auntie Rose. "You're wrong," she said, her voice trembling but clear. The crimson woman turned, amused. "Oh, and what will you do, Maid? Kick me too?" Grace took a shaky step forward, her chin high. "I don't need to. The truth will." She ripped the teddy bear open with her bare hands, pulling out the hidden USB. The crimson woman's eyes widened behind the mask. Grace held it up high. "This has your names, your shipments, your auction lists. The world will see everything." For the first time, the crimson woman's mask cracked, not physically but in her voice. "No," she hissed. "You wouldn't dare." Ethan, struggling to rise, forced a broken smile. "She already has." The laptop on the desk lit up suddenly. The boy had plugged the USB back in while no one was watching. Files flashed across the screen, uploading. A small notification blinked, transferring to public cloud. The crimson woman screamed, lunging forward. "Stop her." But it was too late. The taller officer, with his last burst of strength, fired a shot that shattered the laptop screen, but not before the final beep confirmed the upload. Transfer complete. The files were out. The circle's secrets were free. The crimson woman froze, her whole body trembling with fury. "You stupid maid," she spat. Then she turned, vanishing into the smoke as her soldiers dragged her away. Ethan collapsed to his knees, clutching his ribs, but his eyes burned with fierce light. "We've exposed them," he whispered. "Now the world will hunt them." Grace sank to the floor, tears running down her cheeks. The boy hugged the ripped teddy bear, whispering, "We did it, we did it." Auntie Rose placed a steady hand on Grace's shoulder, her voice calm and certain. "Truth walks slow, but it always arrives." Sirens wailed outside. Real reinforcements this time. Floodlights cut through the windows, and the last of the masked soldiers scattered into the night. Ethan turned to Grace, his voice low but full of something she had never heard before: respect. "You saved her. You saved us all. If Olivia comes home alive, it'll be because of you." Grace looked down at her trembling hands, the USB still warm. "I didn't do it alone," she whispered, glancing at the boy, Auntie Rose, even the wounded officers. "Kindness, it always comes back." The doors burst open and SWAT stormed in. The crimson woman was gone, but her empire was bleeding. And for the first time Ethan Cole had hope. because the maid he once overlooked had become the light in the darkest storm. But Olivia was still missing. The circle was still out there. And the auction clock was ticking. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments so I can greet you. And if you followed this journey all the way to the end, hit that like button, subscribe and turn on the bell, because the fight isn't over yet. The next story will reveal what happens when Olivia faces the circle herself.